welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be creating love theme cards, so cards that are perfect for Valentine's Day or like birthday love type thing. And we're going to be using this gorgeous kit from Crafter's Companion magazine box kit. So this is what you get in the kit. You get these two dies, so you get kind of a crinkle heart and this heart with the leopard print pattern in it. You get this embossing folder with the heart in the like zebra print and the leopard print. And we've got this cool stamp set with like the handbag and the perfumes and the lipstick and the mirror. I think that's really cute. And you've got The World Is Your Catwalk, Happy Birthday, Shopaholic, Friends Like You, Never Go Out of Style. Then we've got this cool animal print stencil, and then we've got this paper pack. Which has like these cut apart pieces, another page of cut aparts. You've kind of got everything from your like birthday wishes and happy birthday to Life is Short by the Shoes, Smart and Sassy, Stay Wild. And some of these papers are really cool as well. I really like the mix of flowers and animal prints. So then you get back to the beginning, so you've got two of each. So these ones that I'm sharing today are actually cards that I'm making for the magazine. So you'll actually see these projects in the magazine if you get the magazine. So then for my first card, I've got a piece of Yupo paper and I'm going to add to that a mask. And you can see I've cut this mask using the die from the set, the heart die. And I'm going to put that in the middle. I'm going to make sure it's like well on because I don't want any of the ink going underneath it. So we're going to create a background using alcohol inks. So I've got this Coral Bliss Ultra alcohol ink. And it's quite a strong ink and I want something a bit more subtle. So I'm going to add a few drops into just a plastic shot glass. And then I'm going to add in some rubbing alcohol. Just give that a little bit of a stir with the end of my pipette. And I'm going to give that a few drops around. And I'm going to use a clean pipette just to add some more alcohol ink. And that'll kind of just make it have a bit more of a two-tone colour to it. And then I'm going to use my heat tool, but I'm going to use it on the lowest setting. If you don't have a low setting, then you can always use a straw and kind of blow the ink around manually. So now I'm going to add on a few drops of this Pinata Rich Gold alcohol ink. And add a bit of alcohol ink on there as well to make it spread a little further. So I'm going to take a guess and that this masking hasn't worked. So let's just put it back and see. No, so that's not worked at all. So that was not a great idea. But I'm just going to blend the ink that was below there into the rest and then we'll do something different instead. So then I'm going to make a circle card for this one. So I've got two 5.5-inch circles cut from Flirty Flamingo cardstock from Stampin' Up, and I'm going to pop this one in at 1/2 inch here. I'm going to cut this piece off, and that is to help the card stand up so it's not like rocking and rolling everywhere. And then I'm going to line this line up at 4.5 inches here so that I can make sure that this line is parallel, and then I'm just scoring across there. And that will be the line that I use to put my card together. So then I've cut a piece of gold cardstock. This is Sizzix gold cardstock that is about 1/2 inch smaller than that. Now I've cut this piece that we did down to 1/4 inch smaller than the gold cardstock. And then I've cut a circle out of foam and a circle out of white cardstock, and those are 1/4 of an inch smaller than this. And I'm going to use this to pop this up. So I'm going to glue that to the back of this circle here. So I'm adding the Yupo paper that we inked up to the foam circle. And the reason that I cut the foam circle slightly smaller, so I don't get bits showing kind of around the outside of this circle. I'm going to leave that to dry for just a second while I construct my card. So I'm just going to add a bit of glue above this score line, and then I'm going to glue this on. So this will be our card blank. You can see that opens like that there. And then I'm going to add on our gold piece. And then this piece that I've got the foam on the back of, I'm going to use the heart from our die set to cut through that. So I'm going to glue this circle onto the card, and then I'm going to glue the foam. And this is where I need to make sure that it's straight. So then to finish this off, I've got some more of this gold cardstock, and I've used this die here to cut Love You from it, and you can see that I've also backed that with some of the foam and also some double-sided adhesive sheet, just to make that easier to stick. So I'm going to use that in the heart. So then there's that card finished. So then for this next card, I'm going to use the 2 heart dies together. So we're going to create 2 of these. So I've created one already, and we'll make one together. So you can see, if you don't like to do die cut inlay, then you could just glue that onto there. I mean, it's the same colours and everything, but I do think that this one has a nicer effect to it. So I'm going to do the die cut inlay. If you don't like doing die cut inlay, or you just want a quick card, then you could always just glue that on there and it still looks really nice. So to do the die cut inlay a bit quicker, I'm going to back this heart with some double-sided adhesive sheet, and then I'm going to cut around the heart. And you'll notice when I'm doing this that my scissors are at a slight angle, so they're kind of almost cutting under the heart slightly, and that makes sure that you don't get any kind of sticky edges showing around the heart. I prefer to do this with the edge of the sheet over. Like if this is more see-through, it's easier to do it through this because then it doesn't get stuck to your scissors, but this particular sticky sheet, which is like an unbranded one, has quite a thick sheet on top of it, so you can't really see that well through, and because I want it to be really precise, then I'm just dealing with it sticking to my scissors, and I'll clean my scissors afterwards. So then I can peel the back off here, and then I'm going to stick this in the middle of this gold one. So then you can see that I've left this gold one in the die, because I'm just going to try and peel that off. You can see some of it stayed in the die and some of it's in the die cut, so I'm just going to place that over there, and then I'm just going to use my scoring tool just to pop those through. And then we've got a few around the edges that fell out, so I'm just going to pop those in manually. And these ones that are still in the die, I'm just going to pop the die over. I'm just going to use the end of my scissors. You could use a pokey tool just to pop those through. And then we've got all those in, and it didn't take too long really, considering how many small bits there are. So then I want these to go like this, and then I want to cut a heart aperture into the middle of my card. So I'm going to space those out so that I know where to put my aperture. I'm going to stick that in place, and then I'm going to pop that through my die cutting machine like that, because obviously you don't want to do it that way or it go through the back as well. Then I've used this Love You die, which is from this Sizzix Bold Text number 1, and I've backed some of the gold cardstock with some double-sided foam sheet, so it's got some dimension. The other thing that you could do if you don't have double-sided foam sheet is to use some foam like we did in the first card and just glue it on either side. So then I'm going to pop that in the aperture, so I'm going to have it like this. And then I can glue on the other two hearts as well. Then that's that card finished. So for my next card, I've used the embossing folder to just emboss a piece of the Flirty Flamingo cardstock. I've also embossed a spare piece of cardstock, but this is just essentially going to be like a mask. So I'm just going to cut around the heart on this. I'm cutting around the inside edge of the heart. So then I'm just going to roll up some of this tape and just pop it underneath here, just to kind of give a temporary adhesion to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of Versamark ink refill to my mat. And this is a silicone mat. I'm going to use it on here now, and then I'm going to change the mat over in a second to do the rest of the video, and I'll clean this off. And then I want to pick some of that up on my brayer. And I want a nice even coverage, so I'm going to put a bit more on. And then I'm just going to run this lightly over the top. And then where it's not really got right up to those edges, I'm just going to go in with a paintbrush. Just add some more just up to those edges. So I can take this off. And then I'm going to use some of this Wow bonding powder. I'm just going to sprinkle it on like embossing powder and then shake the excess off. And then I'm going to go in with a paintbrush and just brush off any bits where I don't want it. Then it's not perfect, but I've got a lot of that loose powder off. So I'm just going to heat it with my heat tool. So then I've got this fab foil in gold that's also from Wow. So I'm going to put this on top of my image. Now I'm going to burnish that down. So it turns out you have to do this foil when the powder is hot. So I'm just going to do it in sections. And then I can make sure that I'm making it hot, putting it on, and then taking it off. You can see I'm getting that nice gold effect. So I've got my 6x6 card blank in the Flirty Flamingo. Then I've got the gold, which is a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch smaller than that. And then I've cut this down to a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch smaller than the gold, just so that you've got a small variation in the gaps between here and here. And it literally comes down to like 1/16 of an inch. It just gives a little bit of variation. So then I've used the same Love You die as on the previous card to cut the letters out. And again, I've used a bit of foam behind there so that the letters pop. And I'm just going to use this waste bit just to decide where to position this. And I think if I position it here, that's going to be fine. So I'm just popping the letters through the holes just to make sure they're nicely aligned. And then I'm just popping in the O on the bottom, and then I'm just going to manually do the U and the Y because I want them to be a bit snugger together than they are on the actual die. Then for my next card, I've got a piece of Glacier cardstock from Spellbinders. I really love the shade of this. I use it a lot because such a nice kind of like pale shade. And that measures 4 by 5 3/4 inches. And then I'm going to use my Pacific Point blue ink from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going to add some sections of like brighter blue to it. Now I'm just going to move my stencil and do a little bit down here as well. And by just using sections, it allows me to extend that stencil down as well. And then I'm going to go and rinse and dry my stencil, and then I'm going to add a little bit of this gold paint to the side of my paper, and this is Do Crafts Metallic Antique Gold acrylic paint. I'm just going to use this sponge. It's a Marabou one, but I've had it for ages and ages, to add this on. You could kind of use any of your kind of foam blending tools or anything like that, but I'm just going to use this to add on some more sections through this. I want a fairly thin kind of layer of paint. So I'm going to pop that to one side to dry a second. So then I've got an 8 1/4 by 5 7/8 inch piece of cardstock, and I'm going to move it slightly away from the edge, and then I'm going to score at 2 1/8. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. I'm going to get it slightly away from the edge and score at 2 1/8, and then we'll fold those into the middle. We've got a nice gatefold card. So then I'm going to cut this down to fit on either side of the card. So then I've cut these down to fit on the panels. So I've got gold cardstock, which again is that Sizzix gold. All of the gold cardstock I've used today is from the Opulent Gold Sizzix cardstock. The gold is 1/4 inch smaller than the panel, and then the blue is 1/8 inch smaller than the gold. So I'm just going to glue those all together. So then I want to create a belly band to keep it together. So I've just got an inch wide piece of the Flirty Flamingo cardstock, and I'm just going to gently bend that around my card. You want it tight enough to stay on, but loose enough so that it can slide on and off when you're trying to. So it stays up when I want it to, but it slides on and off if I don't want it to. And then I've also cut a heart out of the same Flirty Flamingo cardstock. This die set that I used for the first card, I'm going to use it again for this one, where I've cut Happy Birthday and Love You. But what I really want is for it to say Birthday Love. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop the happy off the birthday. I'm going to chop the U off the love. And when you're chopping, you obviously just want to follow the line of the word that you want to use. So then I can have Birthday Love like that. And I'm going to glue that at a bit of an angle across my heart. So then I'm going to add a bit of foam tape onto here. And then I can add on this. So then I've got some Ultra New Antique Gold sequins. And then I'm going to use some of these small Crafter's Companion glue dots for the bigger sequins. And then I'm going to add some little blocks of glue. And then I'll just use my pick-up pencil to add the other sequins to the glue dots. So then that's that card sorted. So then for my final card, I'm going to make a diamond pop-up card. So I've got a 5 by 10 inch piece of Flirty Flamingo cardstock. I'm going to score that at 7.5 inches and at 5 inches. And then I'm also going to mark it at 2.5 inches. I'm going to flip that over and mark it the other side at 2.5 inches as well. So then I've got this line down the centre of here that I use for lining things up. So I'm going to line up the mark that I've put at that end and the edge of this line here. So it's the 2.5 inch mark at each side. And I'm going to join those. And then I'm going to do the same the other way. So I'm going to join this mark and this score line. And then I'm going to mark this at 2.5 inches here. And then what I'm going to do off camera is just join those marks and those marks with my trimmer so that it makes a diamond at the top. So then I'm going to make up the base, and to do that I'm going to fold all the score marks, and then what I'm going to do is kind of pinch these two pieces here so then that folds like that, and that's how it will fit in your card. But then it's going to stand up like that. So then I've got a 3.25 inch piece of the Glacier blue cardstock we were using in the last card, and this is a 2.25 inch square that I've cut from corner to corner, and I'm going to use these Be My Valentine stamps. It's from this Polka Doodle stamp set, which is called Splendid Love. That's a really pretty little stamp set. So then I'm going to stamp the B and My in the Pacific Point ink onto this one, and then I'm going to stamp the Valentine up here on this one. So then I'm going to use the stencil again, and the same paint I used for the last one, the antique gold one. And my other sponge is drying, so I'm just going to use this blending tool. You can see I'm dabbing off the excess because I don't want like tons of paint through. I'm not looking for a smooth application here. I'm more than happy for some of the bits to be kind of lighter than others because I think it adds some texture to it. So I'm not going up over the bits where it's kind of towards the end of the amount of paint that I've got on the sponge. And then I'm also going to add a little bit to these, but for these I'm going to do it in patches because I don't want it to go on the writing. So then I've made this heart the same way that I did for the other end-made die cut hearts, but obviously I've not put the larger heart on the back. I've just done it so that I've got the pink and the gold. I'm going to glue these bits all onto my card now. And then I'm just gluing under here, but then I can glue that down, and then that pop-up works nicely on its own. So then I've just cut that same Love You die, I've just cut the love out. So I'm going to cut the bits that came from the U off the bottom again. I'm going to glue that across my heart. And then I'm going to take the backing off this. I'm only really taking the backing off because the foam pads won't stick very well to this. Because actually I was going to just glue it on, so I was going to use this to glue it on. But I've decided I want to pop it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dust it with my embossing buddy. And now I can add my foam pads without worrying that they're just going to fall back off. Then I'm going to add a few of these sequins again. So then there's our finished card. So let's bring in the others too. And actually I like the stenciling so much that I ended up off camera adding a bit of extra gold onto here with the stencil, using the same paint as I used for the other ones. So there are our finished cards. I hope that it's given you some nice ideas for Valentine's Day cards or any other kind of love cards that you've got throughout the year, like the birthday love And I think also sometimes it's just nice to tell someone that you love them. Maybe it's an anniversary or just an occasion where someone needs to know that they're loved. So I hope that you enjoyed today's project. I'd love to know which is your favourite if you let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.